Thank you, everybody. So now I will start to speak in French because French is my first language. So for those who doesn't speak too much English, I will say everything is French. Alors bonsoir à tout le monde, bienvenue. Nous sommes vraiment désolés de ce retard, donc nous nous excusons sincèrement. Nous avons une très très grande soirée qui s'annonce. Mais nous vous assurons que tout va très très bien se passer. Ce gala a pour but justement de remettre la conscience à tous les Canadiens et les francophiles et les anglophones de ce qui se passe en Afrique. Les femmes, le pouvoir qu'ont les femmes en Afrique, cependant, elles ont des défis. Les défis, c'est au niveau monétaire, les défis des enfants, les défis des personnes vulnérables. Alors aujourd'hui, ce soir, ce gala a pour but de vous mettre au courant de toute la situation, tout ce que Canadian Samaritan for Africa fait avec ses partenaires en Afrique, tout ce que Canadian Samaritan supporte, et le but est de récolter également des fonds pour les projets futurs. Alors je ne vais pas trop parler parce que nous avons déjà beaucoup de retard, et je vous dis merci de supporter la cause pour Canadian Samaritan for Africa, merci pour vos dons d'avance, merci pour les dons que vous avez déjà effectués, et je vous dis à tantôt. Merci. So welcome Father John Elisha, in French Jean-Élisée.
Au nom du Père, du Fils et du Saint-Esprit.
In the name of the Father, the Son and the Holy Spirit.
Dieu notre Père, merci pour ce moment que tu nous donnes, que tu as prévu depuis toute éternité. Nous voulons te remettre ce moment entre les mains du Saint-Esprit, afin que ce soit un temps de bénédiction, un temps de grâce, un temps, Seigneur, où tu bénis chacun de nos cœurs, où tu bénis, Seigneur, ce que chacun aura apporté, où tu bénis, Seigneur, tout le monde. Merci pour ta bénédiction, merci pour ta fidélité. Nous nous recommandons à toi, toi qui es Père, Fils et Saint-Esprit. Amen.
Then now we move forward. So it's all about attitude. Change your heart and change your mind, you'll be fine. So we have a great evening. I'm going to use that paper. It's my cheat sheet, that's how we say it. We have beautiful people around us who are honoring us with their presence, and that's great. That tells us that whatever this event wants to, the intention of this event is it's known and supported. So your presence here is telling me that you are supporting the intention. Who knows the intention of this? You're all nodding. Who knows the intention of this event? Hopefully everybody does. Yes?
Canadian African Awareness and Charity Dinner. So I wanted to give you a few lessons about Africa. Just forgive me because you know that I am a teacher. By Africa, our Africa, Edward Blyden was one of the earliest writers about Africa. And he says, Africa is no vast island separated by an immense ocean from other portions of the globe and cut off through the ages from the men. He was writing when it was still not yet very gender sensitive, so I just give the quote as it is. From the men who have made and influenced the destinies of mankind. She has been closely connected both as source and nourisher with some of the most potent influences which have affected for good the history of the world. And so, some facts about Africa. Do you know that Africa is the birthplace of the human species? Do you know there are 54 countries in Africa? Some contest that. They say it's 56. So, 54 members of the Organization of African Unity. Do you know that Africa's population is more than 900 million? 14% of the world's population, with a total of 11,608,000 square miles. Africa is large enough to contain Europe, the US, and China. I hope you guys there, can you see the slide? Thank you. And that about 2,000 languages are spoken in Africa, 1/3 of the world's total. And do you know that 4 Africans have been awarded the Nobel Prize for Literature and 8 Africans Nobel Prize for Peace? Just few information. And I wanted to talk about Canadian Samaritans for Africa, our principles that we believe that we can make the world a better place if we do good in small ways. You know, Saint Therese of Lisieux says, there is nothing that is too small for God. So that's the principle of charity, solidarity, and collaboration. So we say $1 for $1. That means we have no overhead cost. So whatever you give is given to those who need it most. So all our volunteers are not paid, including myself. So, and our practices is, first of all, assets over needs. This is very fundamental. We want to discover the assets of people, and every person has the light inside them. Everyone has something to offer. So we are not a needs-based group, we are assets. So we build on the assets, especially of the African women. And we want to build relationship over reactionary response. And we do this through participatory practices and ownership through locally driven activity for sustainability. That is a very good principle, because you know, in a lot of discussion, people say, do we need to send aid to Africa? And if we do, what kind of aid should we send? And we say, you need to build relationship with Africa to find the good things that Africans are doing already that you can be part of. So that is the principle. That's why we do not accept projects from any person. We discover those through relationship. So I go to Africa every year, and many of our board members do as well. So all the projects that I will show you, which I will do rather quickly, have been projects that started as a result of relationship. And that relationship leads to what you call ownership. You know, there are 2 principles of Catholic social ethics that is at work, what they call subsidiarity. You cannot do for someone what that person can do for himself. So poverty makes it impossible for people to do for themselves what they can do. So you want to remove the effects of poverty, but you also want to fight for justice, to create structures, healthy structures, so that people will not have to depend on handouts in order to survive. And so how do you do that? Is by identifying what the women are doing already and supporting them to do it, you know, in a more sustainable manner. So for the future we say is in the hand of God. We do not know who holds the future. I mean, we do not know what the future holds, but we know who holds the future. So the future for these people that I will show you, these heroes that you will see, it depends on all of us that we reach out and that we support them. And what we did here last year, we realized a little less than 10,000, and you know, we're very transparent and accountable. So I show you where your money went. So I went actually in some instances to make sure, you know, it's not like we send money, we give money. So we know relationship. So these are the things we did with what we collected last year, and we get $3,500 to start a cluster of 17 women with Village of Love, Nairobi. So that I will show you the picture subsequently, income generating activities. And Linda, one of the angels here that I look up to, she will tell you even more about Village of Love. So the next step is, one of the things that touched me, one of the women said to me when I saw them in July, you know, she has 4 orphans, but now she has 9 orphans. She had 4 orphans when she was chosen to belong to this cluster. But now she has 9. Why? Because her sister died and she had to take in the 5 children. Because our goal is to see from money we raise today to pay the school fees of the women in this cluster, so that they can commit the money to building wealth for the next 3 years. So And then we gave $2,800 to Triple C, that is the Center for Crisis Center for Carers in Mombasa, as support to start-up grants for 15 women for income-generating activities. Income-generating activities could be business, it could be skills. You know, I see women who run restaurants, I see some women who make soap, I see some women who make jewelries, I see some women who sell what's that, ginger which they import from Ethiopia. Ginger is actually a very good business in these parts of Africa. So that's what we did. And then for training, as you will see, HIV/AIDS awareness. And then we gave also 5,000, that is 2,500, to 2 women cooperative groups that you will see also in the picture that I will show you. So these women have started businesses and they are now, you know, self-reliant to a large extent. So I walk you quickly through, this is something, a declaration, you know, so many groups came together in 2005 and they think of 5 principles for international development. Whether you are Catholic or Muslim, that people must take ownership of their lives. Secondly, alignment. You must align your priorities with that of the local people. So it's not you stay here in Mississauga and you tell them what you should do in Africa. No, find out what they are doing and align your support to locally driven initiatives, midwife by local skills, because every people have that capacity. Then harmonization is also subsequent upon alignment. So there are no conflict situation wherein you're working at cross purposes. So, and then managing results. Input and output must correspond. So if you're putting in $20,000, you must show that $20,000 is changing lives. Otherwise, you are shortchanging the donors. So if you give money today, next year we show you that that money is changing lives. That is how you have credibility for what you're doing. Because, I mean, I've been in this business for a long time, and unfortunately sometimes a lot of money go wasted in the name of, international development. And then the final one is mutual accountability. There has to be transparency on both sides so that there will be trust, confidence, and then we are doing this for the poor. So the poor are the ones who deserve our respect, our love, our support. And so we are accountable first of all to the poor, and then ultimately we are accountable to God. So what can you do to help? Become a Canadian Samaritan. So you can decide to support what we do once a month or once a year, or you can sponsor a project. With $3,500, you can change the life of 15 women. And if you change the life of these 15 women, you change the life of, well, on average, you change the life of about 115 children. So you can decide to sponsor a cluster to be set up. You know, you can visit Africa. So beginning next year, Sister will speak to us shortly. Sister is inviting us visit Africa. So we are organizing with my colleague from Notre Dame University. We call it a Journey of Common Humanity, Journey of Hope. So you can consider visiting Africa the last week of July and the first week of August next year. It's going to be fun. If you come, we go to Rwanda to see how Rwanda is recovering from the genocide. And then we go to see some of the works that we are doing with our partners in places like Tilling, in Soroti, in Gulu. Dr. Fraser here was in Tilling last 2 years ago, and I understand many people were crying. They didn't want to leave Uganda, this beautiful land, you know. And then after we go for this African safari, the famed African safari, and then, have a good time on one of the biggest lakes in Africa, Lake Victoria. So I run now quickly because I have 20 minutes, I have 5 more minutes. I run quickly through some of the images of what we have done over the years. So first of all, I want to tell you about this African saint, St. Charles Lwanga. His Namugongo is Africa's holiest ground. You know, because this was the place where the first African martyrs in modern times where they were martyred. And so it's a holy ground, one of the places we will go next year to see how the seed of Christian faith was planted in Africa, especially in the modern period, and the courage of Charles Lwanga and his companions. So now we go to Nigeria, my place of birth. That is Rock, which is a very significant sign that Africans are tough. In spite of tough challenges, they are not giving up. This was when I was younger. As you can see, I had my hair then. That was how we started, with some students from University of Illinois. We had this meeting in 2005 and talked about a dream. And unfortunately, Maren died 3 years ago. I still mourn her loss, but she remains one of my heroes. Then we built a relationship. When we got to Nigeria, some people were, some of the kids were running away from these folks. I thought the best thing we can do is to play soccer together. And then that way we were able to break the ice. That was the meeting with community leaders. You see the Musée there is my dad, So the meeting on how to go forward. Now the kids can come together, people will meet. Then these people go into stream. I went through that myself. About over 30 years ago, I was like this, And then they drew the plan for the water project around quickly. You can see kids coming from the stream carrying wood. You can see women. And then the project started. We all worked together. Now water came, the reservoir again now constructed. People are told how to manage water. Then community learning how to manage the water. Now the tap, we have 40 taps in my village now, and more than 40,000 people have access to water through what we did with the Engineers Without Borders USA. As they left, the kids were happy, saying goodbye. And here we were to receive Environmental Protection Award in the United States. That was in 2009. So that's our group with Maren now gone to God, and then Professor Bruce, with whom I co-led the project. So, and you can see me here, I was just overwhelmed thinking, when I was a child I never had water. Now we can have water. So I was crying. And I did some work, laying pipes. But you can see here, I'm taking some palm wine. If you look here, you can see that tummy is huge. Result of the traditional brew that I drank just to get extra energy. So here we continue the work, laying pipes, And then the next thing we did was to build a center for women. And you can see the lady here, Brigitte, was there to lay the cornerstone. And now this house is completed. Now you see the women, they are doing palm oil processing there. They get cassava, they bring cassava to the center for processing, and then they process the cassava at this center. They also do other things, processing oil for food. This is the leadership team of the women. They're also making bag in that place now, so for garbage and all the other things. I go quickly. Civic education in the last election. The center is also where women come together to talk about empowerment. So that is the councillor. The councillor is a deputy to the mayor in the village, teaching women about their civic rights. There's no electricity in this part of the world where I come, so this woman had to buy this generator. Now we go quickly. This is the school that we supported, run by the sisters. Now we move to the other women who are, you can see a woman processing again food products. These are all the women who are working. All these are the ones who received our donation from last year. They set up their own business, and so they become small entrepreneurs. And then this is again Brigitte with some of the kids that we are supporting their education. Now we go to Uganda. Uganda, this is me and Sister Rosemary in May at a conference that was organized by the Clinton Global Initiative. So this was me again in Uganda visiting with the women. So we go to GROW. GROW, these are the founding members of GROW. Pa Egolet has gone to God and is watching over us from heaven. This was the situation of disaster, in the midst of, I'm being told that my time is up. So I don't want to disobey. Can I have 5 minutes more? Please. Okay, sorry. I just show you the picture quickly of Uganda, how life is being transformed by GROW. These kids can now go to school. So we need also to support the donation here. We also go to support these kids. So these are the kids who are being trained, who are being supported. These are the kids. So this is the organic farming to provide food so to become self-sustaining as well, agriculture, education, and women empowerment. So this was me again in the village. This is a Canadian Samaritan Center we built for skills development for the youth. So I will just go quickly, just allow you to see the picture, some of the people who visited the project in Uganda. This is Father Alex, the community, Then Kenya, quickly, this was me with our Rose, who was here, Mama Rose was here last year, and Sarah is from British Columbia. He heard about the work and went to work in Kenya, so she's a resident in Kenya. So that's the family. That's one of the schools we support. This guy says, I want to be an engineer, but he's an orphan, but we are supporting him as well. Then the kids that we see here. So these are some of the images. I will stop here because I don't want to...
The item is going to be shown to you. Obviously, you need to know what you're going to bid on. The first option, so the first item is a painting for the art lovers. It's a painting. For each item, she's gonna walk around for everybody to see the item. This is the first painting, starting with $80. Look at it. Obviously, it's handmade, African, original for sure. And to be honest, usually our artists, they usually don't just a unique item. I know so. I really know so. And okay.
We are at the point where we are to introduce the keynote speaker. As we advertised, we were expecting in person Sister Rosemary Nirumbe. Unfortunately, due to difficulties or challenges at the Canadian High Commission, she was not able to get her passport on time back from the Canadian Embassy. As a result, she missed her flight and is unable to be here today. However, as a result of her dedication, she has agreed to connect with us through Skype. As a matter of fact, we tried it earlier today and it worked. And just to give you a sense of the dedication on her part, the time over there right now where she is about 3 a.m. So she's going, she promised, and we know she's going to live up to it. Hopefully, our technical difficulties will be resolved by then so she can join us through Skype and give us her words of courage. I just want to remind everybody, just as Flora has already mentioned, the auction items are still there. We expect and hope you will take a second look, a third look if necessary, and do whatever your heart, most importantly your wallet, can sustain. So we are very grateful for your patronage, for your interest in this cause. When there's despair, Sister Nirumbe was honored as a hero by the American Cable News Network, CNN, in 2007. In 2014, our keynote speaker made the list of the 100 most influential people compiled by the Time magazine. Without much ado, I would ask for us to pay attention to a recording of her work, which we've been privileged to secure. And in it, there is also a message from Sister Nirumbe.
She's calling.
Hello, sister. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I've been waiting for this opportunity to speak with you all.
So we are listening, sister.
Yes. I really feel sorry that I missed to come on this great event, and I thought that it was a moment for me to meet all of you and to speak after I hope you watch the movie. And of course, watching the movie or hearing stories coming from the movie or from the book is always heartbreaking, and it's quite painful to hear, and especially meet the different people who suffer so much expressing themselves. I know you are not able to sometimes understand the language, but you can see the expression is not just something which can create happiness. That means they're expressing the long suffering they went through, the problems which have been inflicted on them by the rebels of the Lord Jesus coming for a long time. I know a good number of people might not have heard about the Lord Jesus coming, who actually caused a lot of problems in northern Uganda for so many years. And when I'm speaking about Uganda, you will always hear me speak about northern Uganda, simply because this is the place which actually went through a long period of war from the rebels. And again, this rebel became really infamous because they started targeting women and children. And for me, that is the point where I say a lot of pain and a lot of people suffered because the children were taken to captivity, trained as child soldiers, and then girls became dumped the battle because a good number of them, much as they were trained as child soldiers, they were also turned as sex slaves and they were used by different rebel commanders. I think you could hear some of the stories the girls were recounting how they were forced to choose men above their age to be their husbands. And for me, that is the story which really puts a lot of pain in the hearts of these young women. And then some of these young women were lucky to manage to escape, to come back. I say they were lucky because a good number of them did not make it. They were killed. And some of these children were forced to kill their own friends when some were killed also, when they were sent to the front line. But then those who were lucky and managed to come home, it was very difficult for their people to accept them, the society to accept them, because these children were brought always back after abduction to come and commit atrocities in their communities. And this made it very, very difficult for people to accept these children, and they knew these children were turned into murderers. And of course, anyone who knows the background of these young people will really be afraid to get in contact with them. And at this point, St. Monica, the school I run, turned to be not just a school, but a home to accept these young children, young women with their children. And of course, I personally had to get out of my way, not because I'm an educationist, it was just because of love and compassion, and say, I need to do something different. I need to convince even my own sisters of my community that this is what we're supposed to do. And of course, when we opened the door of the school to accept these people whose background we knew that people were accepting them because everybody feared that they were murderers. We opened our door and our hearts. And when we opened our door and our hearts, it turned out to be a great challenge because we practically had nothing to support them and their children. But I strongly believe you don't need sometimes a lot of resources to support people who have gone through a lot of pain. The resources you need is what God has put in the hearts of everybody, and that is love, compassion, and acceptance. And that's exactly what we did, accepting these young women, and we decided not to speak about their background. And I actually told them, I made a radio announcement and said, come to St. Monica, come as you are. Don't worry about your past. If you have a child or you have two children, come with them. And of course, some of these young women were wives of the Lord, the warlord, the leader, Joseph Kony himself. We accepted these young women with their children, and we never mentioned to anybody that these children belong to the rebel leader. And up to now, there are some of these young women who are settled by themselves because of the love and care they got in St. Monica. We started giving them skills training. We started giving them that love as parents, adopting them, teaching them how to love the children they got from painful situations. I think it's very, very difficult for any of us to go out of our way to say, I can love a child or somebody got out of rape or forced sexual intercourse. And I think this is something none of us would accept. Many times the children gone from this painful situation remain a constant reminder of pain these young women went through. And it has remained a scar in their lives. And that's why I personally mention and talk to these girls, telling them that remember what has happened to you in the past has already gone. You will never recover the past. But there is the future. You can walk in future with hope. And I told many times to these girls, these young women, that you come and we know we are going to rebuild your life from where you think life is stopped for you. Because most of these people, actually, even their own rights do not exist anymore. They never thought they would ever recover their life. They would never recover their dignity. They never thought they would get back their lost childhood. And giving them this opportunity, this acceptance, this care as elderly or people who would be their role model has helped them to get out of the deep trauma, has helped them to start loving their own children. And that's why right from the beginning I've been saying, when we accepted these young women, we didn't think we were bringing them to study because we knew they lost their chances of education. And of course, the study we would give them was only based on practical skills, which we knew would be helpful to them in future, supporting them, supporting their children, and eventually supporting their society. And that happened for a long, long time. And of course, I always remained a dreamer. I had to dream of other things. I have to become innovative and say, from here, where are we going next? And of course, when many times people say that I'm teaching these young girls how to sew clothes, how to make their own things and so forth, you would wonder, you would ask me, have you ever been a seamstress? I've never been, never in my life. But I had to teach myself how to sew, because I know that this is type of skills which this girl could master. And also when I realized sewing was very, very important in the lives of these people, because they were putting pieces together. For me it was very, very significant in putting broken pieces, their lives which are broken. It's like we are mending together their lives. That's why I always put emphasis on sewing hope, saying, let people read the book of Sewing Hope. Please take time and watch the movie Sewing Hope, because it will tell you the story of our time. It will tell you exactly what happened in Uganda. It will tell you about what happened in northern Uganda. And reading the book, watching the movie is going to help us understand that we need to work together. We need to come together to stop that evil which took place in Uganda or in any part of the world. Because if we are not involved in stopping this evil, we have to know it will happen even very close to us. It can happen in our backyard. I know many times people think the story in northern Uganda, you have heard maybe about it from some people. It happened long ago. Maybe now there's no more abduction. The rebels are not taking women or children anymore. I think that is a statement which I think is very, very weak. Because this happened to people who actually lost, we lost the whole generation. They lost their chance of education. They lost their family. They lost their childhood. And so it is us who have witnessed, who have seen what is going on, who should come together to help these people to rebuild their lives. Yesterday I mentioned we should help these young people to have a better future. Let the world be better. And even some people are afraid to let their children read this book or watch the movie. Say, oh, it's very painful, it's very traumatic. No, I advise you, let the children get involved to understand what happened somewhere in that part of the world. And let them get involved in stopping what is happening and what can happen anywhere. Because if they know it, they will understand that they must stop this evil and help other children as well. This story, when I speak about it, is for me always fresh, it's always new, simply because I am up to now living with these women, with these children who have gone through these atrocities. And of course, if you meet some of the young women who are still with me, and I hope some of you will come one day and meet them, you will be surprised to see that you are faced directly with evil. Because seeing a person whose lips have been cut off, seeing someone whose limb has been chopped off, you can know that you are directly meeting with the face of evil. But, of course, we cannot put back some of the things which have been taken away, like a limb which has been cut or limbs which have been broken. But we can help these people to understand that there is a future. Their life is there. We are there to give them that hope. And I am very sure many people are ready in their community to get involved in these kind of scenarios. And when I hear about your organization, Samaritans for Africa, I think that's a very big name. Maybe I actually do not understand it, but if I think of what any Samaritan can do, I think that is something where I would invite all of you to join us on this journey, because it is about the journey which we are on a pilgrimage. We are trying to walk with somebody. We are trying to let someone reconcile with ourselves. We're letting someone to think that life can be better because there are people who are ready to go out of their comfort zones, to come and see exactly our suffering, to come and alleviate. And of course, I will not forget to tell that sometimes we think this, what Sister Rosemary is talking about, is not possible. We cannot do it. No, you can do it. We can do it. We can alleviate this pain of these young people. We can help people reconcile. We can heal their wound. And again, I must repeat, when we are doing it, let us not say we are going to help the whole of Africa get healed. I always say, if you think like this, you will get confused and you will actually give up. You can't do anything. But make attempt to do something for somebody. At least for children. Don't think you can save all the children in Africa, but attempt to do something for one child. Attempt to change the life of one woman and one child. And for me, that is always what I tell people. I personally do not do big things. I like to get committed to doing small things. When you say I am just like playing with the kids, or I'm teaching just certain things which are my hobby for these young people, and later I see it's going to become something which will help them for their future, I feel quite fulfilled and happy about that. And of course now, my own sisters in the congregation are all committed to doing these small things together to help change the lives of women and children in northern Uganda and also in South Sudan. I think that's what I can tell and share with you. And I really invite you to come on this pilgrimage, on this journey to northern Uganda, and hopefully we can go to South Sudan one day. Thank you so much, and I'm very sorry that some of you may not hear me well because the sound may not be clear. But I'm glad I have the opportunity to just pass this short message to you. Thank you all, and I'm glad that you gave me this chance and invited me. Hopefully I will come one day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sister. On behalf of all of us here, we want to thank God for your life, for the great work you're doing for God, and for teaching us how to love. And there are many people here who will sign up for the visit next year that you and I have been talking about with Father Emmanuel Katongole. So people will sign up. A few individuals have signed up, and we will now play Sister. We wish you a good morning, because it's 5:07 a.m. So we thank you for keeping awake. That's also a measure of your sacrifice. So we ask you to get some sleep, and we will now play the trailer from you about Sowing Hope, which is the title of your book and the title of the documentary about your work. Thank you. Asante sana.
Thank you so much. Anyone who wants to ask a question, maybe?
Yeah, sister says, anyone want to ask a question?
When are you coming to visit us?
They say, when are you coming for the next time? So since you didn't come here, when are you coming?
Is this event every year?
Every year, first Saturday of November every year.
So next year I'll be you.
Okay, next year. Sister is going to be here.
Any more questions?
Yeah. I think, sister, we want to thank you, okay? God bless you. Love you. Bye.
So, before we start with our next guest, I will say, please don't forget to fill out the form and the envelope. We need money, please, for the cause in Africa. So now, I will introduce our next guest. His name is Father John Elisha. So I knew Father John Elisha since he was like, I said, teenagers before he become a priest. So we come here to talk about what's happening in our country, the war, and what the women in Central African Republic did to bring more joy in our country. So our MC Zion will translate what we say in French. I mean in English, sorry. So welcome Father John Elisha.
Voilà, donc ce soir, je vais être le porte-parole de l'association des femmes des Amis de l'Agneau, cette association centrafricaine.
So tonight I'm coming on behalf of the association called
Amis de l'Agneau.
Yeah. Friends of the Lamb. Amen.
Voilà, de la Centrafrique.
From Central Africa.
Comme nous le voyons, ça c'est la carte de la Centrafrique.
So as we see, this is the map of Central Africa.
Et nous le constatons, c'est au cœur même de l'Afrique.
And as you can see, it's right in the middle, in the heart of Africa.
En Sango, qui est la langue nationale de la Centrafrique, on dit B-Africa, qui veut dire le cœur de l'Afrique.
In Sango, which is the essential language in Central Africa, it's called B, right?
B-Africa.
B-Africa, which means the heart of Africa.
Et ce n'est pas un hasard si on dit Centrafrique, parce que même les géographes ont montré que la Centrafrique est réellement au centre même de l'Afrique.
It's even proven geographically that it is the heart of Africa.
Mais ce soir, j'aimerais vous parler aussi de certains événements qui se sont passés.
But tonight I'd like to talk to you about some events that happened back then.
Le cri de la femme centrafricaine.
The scream of the Central African women.
Le 5 décembre 2013.
In December 5th, 2013.
Il s'est passé une guerre sans précédent en Centrafrique.
A war happened in Central Africa.
Dont j'ai été témoin.
Which I was witness.
Et pendant cette guerre, nous avons vu beaucoup de choses.
We saw many awful things.
Des choses affreuses.
Many awful things.
Même les enfants ont pris des armes.
Even children had to be armed.
Et le peuple centrafricain a crié, la femme centrafricaine a crié.
And the women from South Africa screamed.
Étant membre du monastère de la communauté des Béatitudes, 40 000 personnes sont venues trouver refuge au monastère.
How do you say monastère? Monastery, thank you. So me being part of monastery, 40 women?
No, 1,000.
40,000.
1,000.
Is it 1,000 or 40? C'était
40,000, 40,000.
No, so I heard you, 40,000 people, women mostly, came to him, to the monastery.
Du côté de l'aéroport, il y avait près de 100 000 personnes.
Towards the airport, there's 100,000 approximately.
Mais au niveau du monastère, il y avait 40 000 personnes et dans des conditions très difficiles.
In the monastery, there were about 40,000 people in really bad condition.
Femmes,
Women,
jeunes, vieux,
old people,
enfants. Vous voyez,
children.
même dans les poulaillers, avant c'était un poulailler, les gens sont allés dans les poulaillers pour trouver un refuge, pour se réfugier.
Even in the poultry, sorry, yes, they had to find refuge where they can.
Et c'était affreux, c'était la misère.
It was awful to see, and it was terrible. They were all in misery.
Une misère dont j'ai été témoin. Et il y avait ces poubelles, ça et là.
Which I witnessed where there were trashes here and there, and they had to be around that.
Et les gens, en venant, ils sont venus, ils ont cassé les murs et tout cela.
So people came and they had to bring down the walls here and there.
La peur de mourir.
Because they were afraid to die.
Et c'est terrible quand on a peur de mourir.
And it's quite terrifying when you are afraid to die.
Puis, la crise a baissé d'intensité.
Then things calmed down a little bit.
Les atrocités ont commencé à baisser. Les atrocités.
Oh, the atrocities have started to diminish a little bit.
Et face à ces atrocités, il y a un groupe de femmes, face à cette baisse d'atrocités, il y a un groupe de femmes qui a décidé de ne pas se laisser faire.
But in the midst of this atrocity, few women stood up and refused to let themselves
Elles ont dit, certes,
They said for sure,
la Centrafrique est passée par des moments difficiles.
Central Africa went through horrible things and difficult time.
Certes, elles ont vu beaucoup de souffrances.
For sure, we have suffered.
Mais cela ne veut pas dire qu'il faut baisser les bras.
This does not mean that we will give up. Thank you. Sorry.
Il faut donner un brin de joie.
We have to give a light of joy.
Yes. Et pour cela, elles ont fait quelques activités.
And for that, they started to put together activities.
Les femmes amies de l'agneau,
The friendly women of the land
pour pouvoir aider
to help
certaines femmes centrafricaines.
few Central African women
Par la distribution, par exemple, de certains vêtements au niveau de l'hôpital pédiatrique.
by distributing clothes through pediatric clinics. Is that it?
Voilà, c'est ça. L'hôpital pédiatrique.
Oh, okay, to pediatric hospital to help out.
Et par la suite, les femmes les plus privilégiées, c'était les femmes les plus pauvres.
And
Les femmes les plus privilégiées, oui.
the most privileged women were the ones that were the most poor.
Voilà, tout à fait. Elles ne se sont pas arrêtées seulement à l'hôpital pédiatrique,
They didn't stop only to the pediatrical
mais il y avait des enfants,
hospital, but there were children.
mais il y avait des enfants aussi qui étaient abandonnés
There were abandoned children as well
par leur maman
by their mothers
à cause de la misère,
because of misery,
à cause de la pauvreté.
because of poverty.
Et il y avait aussi des activités les enfants, avec les enfants de la rue.
And there were also activities with children from the streets
Ils n'ont pas de quoi où loger.
where they didn't know where to go.
On a dû organiser, les femmes amies de l'agneau ont dû organiser une activité avec les enfants de la rue.
So they had to organize activities with the children from the streets,
Avec une messe, la prière,
with prayer,
le repas,
with food,
et puis la distribution aussi des cadeaux.
and gift distribution.
Et on a constaté quelque chose.
So, yes,
On a constaté quelque chose.
so this is what we saw.
Est-ce que cela est suffisant pour aider la femme centrafricaine à sortir de ces difficultés?
Is this truly enough for the women, Central African women, to get out of these difficulties?
Parce que la difficulté serait de tomber dans l'assistanat.
Because the difficulty is to be dependent of from having assistance, government assistance, to be always assistant. So they are depending, and that will be difficult.
Il y a un proverbe qui dit, au lieu de donner du poisson, il faut apprendre à pêcher le poisson.
There's a proverb that says that instead of
Giving a fish.
giving the fish, you might as well learn the person to fish.
Et pour cela, les femmes amies,
Teach the person to fish. I'm sorry, go ahead.
voilà. Pour cela, les femmes de l'ami de l'agneau ont proposé 3 perspectives.
And this is why the friendly women of the land propose 3 things.
Voilà. La première chose, un micro-commerce
Commerce,
en vendant, par exemple, des ustensiles de cuisine,
by selling cookware,
le savon,
soap,
et puis aussi des vêtements pour enfants et
and
femmes.
also children and women clothing.
L'avantage dans ce micro-commerce, c'est que ça peut s'écouler assez rapidement.
The advantage of it is that they can rapidly get rid of their items. It's sellable really quickly.
On peut commencer avec un groupe de 20 à 30 femmes.
You can start with a group of 20 to 30 women,
Et $110 par femme peuvent les aider.
and $110 can help. $110 per woman
Yes.
would help,
Voilà, ce qui nous revient à $3,300.
and this will come back to $3,300.
Et la seconde perspective, c'est de faire aussi la vente des produits locaux.
The second option is to encourage the sales of local products,
L'huile de palme,
palm oil,
le maïs,
corn,
le manioc, cassava.
Yeah, cassava pink.
Et puis le pistache.
And pistachio.
Voilà. Cela peut les aider. L'avantage dans ce type de commerce, c'est qu'elles peuvent les écouler aussi très rapidement.
This kind of commerce would help them get ready to sell rapidly.
Et se fournir très rapidement aussi avec cela.
And also
Mais il n'y a pas que ça.
but it's not only that.
Il y a une troisième perspective.
There's a third option.
La question de l'eau.
It's water.
La question de l'eau qui n'est pas facile.
The question of the water is not easy.
Il faut faire parfois de longues queues.
Sometimes you have to do long queues to have water.
Et cela même en saison pluvieuse.
And sometimes when it's a rainy season,
Et pendant la saison sèche, ça devient très difficile.
and when it's